Everyone can know what they are. All right, so welcome to RSM 482, my great experiment. I'm glad that I have people here and willing to learn and take part in this. I set it up to be a fun class, very discussion oriented as much as we can have in this virtual space. I want it to be fun and enjoyable for you guys. All right, so it doesn't mean it'll be easy, but fun and enjoyable. I mean, we're talking about fantasy sports and gambling, so like, how much more fun can that be? Okay. Like I said, everybody have a chance to go over the syllabus and look at the syllabus. Are there any questions on the syllabus?
Is there any like extra credit or anything?
Extra credit. Yeah, now that you bring it up, let's talk about extra credit. So I have two proposals for extra credit. I want your guys' feedback on this. The first is I give you essentially 25 points extra credit up front right now for the semester. You can either A, keep that 25 points and just be happy with it, or since this is a sports gambling class, we can gamble those points and you can actually use those to place bets on sporting events. So I would be the bookie in this instance, and you would have to tell me your bets of what you won and how many points you wanted to wager, and you could potentially grow your 25 points, or you could potentially lose all 25 points. So there's that one. The second option is I give you 100 points extra credit to spend, or $100. We'll call it Schlereth bucks. And that I'll still be the bookie. And you can place wagers using that in the sporting events because now we have action coming. I don't care if it's Bundesliga play. I don't care if it's Fight Island with UFC or the PGA Tour, whatever it may be. NASCAR, whatever you want. Place bets with me. And then the person with the highest bank at the end of the semester will get 10 points extra credit. Which one do you guys feel will be I'm open to either one.
I like the 100 one.
So we got one vote for the 100. Okay.
With the 25 one, is it still just one person getting the 10 points at the end?
No, I'm giving you all 25 points extra credit.
So that one everyone gets, but then the other one only one person would win or get it.
Correct.
Okay, I was on like other one.
There's risk in both areas here. Because you could get 25 points, so you could go down to 0. Or you could just do really well and get 10 points extra credit.
I'm going to throw a vote for the 25.
Yeah, me too.
So I got 2 for 25.
Is that also?
Good. I'll get 25 too.
5 too. Yeah, I'll say 25.
Okay, so this is recorded for the good of the order. So I'm going with 25 points. Okay, so I will send some information out on that later today. We will use the sportsbook. We'll use FanDuel Sportsbook for all odds. And I will show you in the slides an odds calculator. So in all reality, if you know anything about betting, we'll use moneyline odds on this. So with that, you might get like 25 cents for a win. You might get a quarter of a point. Or you might lose. If you wagered a whole point, you might lose a point. It just depends. I think it'd be a fun way. And plus, it doesn't really impact your grade that much at all. So just a fun way to do it. I want to make this as interactive as possible. Okay, so that being said, let's any other questions for me about the class, about your, in fact, let's go over, let me share my screen real quick. Let's go over this. Okay. So, what are you guys seeing right now? Just curious. Is it the Zoom screen or?
The outline selection menu.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome. Okay, so I have two. I have two screens. I'm pretty high tech. Let's go here to Moodle. Oops. Da. Thinking. Okay. So the one thing I do want to go over are your module reflections. So everybody's names, you should have a partner that's on here. You don't ever have to talk to your partner, whatever. But what will happen is in your every week, every module, obviously someone already has a discussion post in here. You are to post, I don't know how you did that without us talking, but you will write a minimum of 500 words on that topic. And what I want from you as a reviewer of that is to go in and say, let's say I'm gonna pick on Maddie. So Maddie writes her discussion, and then we go in and I go, okay, in that discussion, like Maddie might have made a couple good points about something. Like, Maddie, those are great points. Well, let's think about X, Y, and Z. This is what I think about this. So critique that person's thoughts, that person's feedback, maybe provide some pointers to them how you thought stuff was. I want this to be a higher level thinking exercise for you. Don't just say, yeah, that was a good idea. That was a good topic. No, I want you to sit there and if it's a great idea, say, yes, it's great, but here's how you can make it better. Or if it wasn't that great of a concept, here's how you can make it better based off what you think. And maybe you can pose a discussion. What I am looking at as far as grading is, one, I'm going to review your individual one, and I'm also going to review your reflection on somebody else. Okay? So it's nothing overly intensive, but it's my way to get you guys to critically think about these topics that we're going to talk about, because this industry is rapidly growing, as you'll hear from our guest speakers throughout the time. So it's just a unique way to do it. Your first one is due Friday at 11:55, and then your peer review is due for Sunday at 11:55. Okay, and both have to be 500 words each. Any questions on that? No? Okay. And then NASCAR, most of you have figured it out. Step-by-step directions are there for you. These are the races where we will be counting the points. Tonight's the Blue Emu Maximum Relief 500. So if you haven't made your picks, I've made my picks. My wife is in the league. She's playing too. So it should be fun. Also, there's wagering on that as well. So let's see. So let's come back from that. Any other questions? Anything?
Wait, I have the question about like the NASCAR thing.
Yes.
Okay, so so you go like on the website and you like just like bet on yourself winning.
You're picking. So what it is, it's fantasy. Have you ever played fantasy football before?
No.
Fantasy baseball?
No, I've seen people do it, but I've never done it.
Okay. So what you're doing is you're picking, and the rules are actually written out on the website of how the scoring counts.
Okay.
You're picking 5 drivers
Mm-hmm.
that you think will win the race. And those are your 5 drivers that you have. While the race is going on until the second stage begins in the race, you can actually swap out your garage driver, the one that you pick as your garage driver. You can swap them out for one of them that's in the race. So let's say you picked, just because he's on Bubba Wallace. And Bubba Wallace crashes out of the race tonight in the on lap 20, and he was one of the ones you picked. But you got Denny Hamlin sitting in your garage. Well, you can go put Denny Hamlin then into the race so that you can make sure that you get points.
Okay.
It's a fun way. My goal with this class is to get you guys to, one, play fantasy sports and see how it is. And how many of y'all watch NASCAR religiously every week?
I used to.
Okay, one. Anybody else? You know what I call
My
NASCAR?
dad used to play fantasy NASCAR.
Okay. So I refer to NASCAR as nap car, because if it's Sunday afternoon, you need to take a nap, throw that on, wake up an hour later, and hey, the race might be close to being done, right? So I want you, and by having a vested interest in it, maybe you can actually be like, oh man, yeah, that's happened there. My wife was making fun of me on Sundays. We were watching a race from Atlanta. I'm sitting here working, and she goes, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, you know what's going on. I'm like, they go around in a circle. It's not that hard. But to understand the ins and outs of which drivers might have a better shot to win that week, to see how much of a fandom it increases. This is important for you to trying to get you guys to learn through participating. Because once you get out into the industry, you see the power of this that it can have on fans, right? The same thing with placing 1 point wagers on your extra credit points. That can at least you see how much more participation. You might care about a Bundesliga soccer match. You might find a way to watch it at 3:00 in the morning. I need to watch this because I got 2 extra credit points riding on this game, right? So it's just a fun way. It increases participation. So, any other questions?
Do you have to change it every before each race?
Yes.
Or you don't change? Okay, so you have to reset it each time.
Yeah. So you create a new entry. So when you go on the website, you just click new entry, and it'll pull up the race. Whether you do it a day or two before, you could do it an hour before the race. If there's late breaking news, someone pops a wheelie or something, you can, change your team up. But yeah, and just be careful because on June 27th and June 28th, they're Saturday and Sunday. So back to back. And then you can't forget about the Sunday, July 5th race, the Big Machine Vodka 400 at the Brickyard, powered by Florida Georgia Line. I'm glad I'm not a commentator because that's a mouthful. So, but yeah, so it's there. I'm just trying to have you guys fun. This is all just participation. Trying to get you. I try to find ways to teach this and doing. All right. So, like I said, let's dive into these slides. Let's go here, and let's move this to here. And where's my slides? What's up? All right. Thinking. There we go. So you should have probably seen, if you've read, which I hope you did, or watched the videos for the week. We're talking about, this is overview week. And then tomorrow, a little plug I have, we're talking about Tony DiTomasalo is a director of risk management for CG Sports Technology, which was acquired by Williams Hill. So if you got anyone heard of Williams Hill? Williams Hill is one of the 3 major sports books in the United States. So he's been a quote unquote bookie for 37 years, but legal bookie in Vegas and across Nevada, originally from New Jersey. So all my New Jersey people, bring some, you might recognize his accent. I don't know. But he's a good guy. Let's talk about the industry, his experience in that. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of information about overview of this. You see the way the class is set up is one of overview of odds and betting and what goes into that. And then next week we talk about the horsies, betting the ponies. Anyone ever bet on horse racing before? One person? Okay. Okay, it's fun. I've gotten through the past couple of months by watching America's Day at the Races on Fox FS1 and start figuring out that. So betting the ponies, and then we talk about fantasy sports, and then we dive into the industry a little more, how this impacts business. So, but today let's get started a little bit talking about the overview. Whoops. So with that, if we think about sports betting outlaw, you have odds and math. And I know we're all RSM people, and math might not be our strong suit, right? I was told in my finance class in the fall that I was about a 4 out of 10 on my math skills. But math is there. And this isn't crazy math that we're doing. The great part is there's online calculators that you can use. If you can understand the basics of it, you can probably make more money in the future doing this. When you're talking about betting, and I hear all of y'all when you come into class, you're like, oh, I lost this much on this game, this. Great for you. Great for a sports book. But doing your homework, and part of what I'm going to try and get through to this class is doing your homework on placing bets, treating this as a job, as something you don't. I hate losing parking spaces, and I hate losing money. So treat it that way. Okay, so do your homework. Use statistical modeling. There's a lot of ways you can do that. And then the sports books overall, there's different ones. There's both in the United States, offshore betting, just different variety of things. So why should we care about this industry as a whole? Go ahead, someone chime in. Why should we care?
Kind of like how you said before, like it could affect like the fans and like their participation in the game. Could be like one aspect of it.
Okay, so fan interaction,
Yeah.
absolutely. Gets more people involved. It's not just over in Europe. It's not just that people love soccer because they have a dying passion for soccer. It's because a little bit of the history, which I'll get to in a bit, but it ties into that whole nature of showing your skills. So yeah, why else should we care?
It's a billion. It's $1 billion industry.
Okay. So are a lot of other ones, but why else should we care?
It just adds like another layer to the games because you can win a bet even if like your favorite team doesn't win the game. Like you can still win a bet within the game.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What else? Okay. So guys got some good topics. So let's move on here. Oops. So when we think about a little bit of the history of how this plays in the United States, if we think back to the beginning of the country, there's very much a Puritan push, right? People escaped. People came over from England because they wanted to get out of the king's rule and they wanted to have some sort of freedom. And the United States, or America, provided freedom from a little bit of the king, where we got pissed off and we threw some tea into the harbor and said, take your taxes and shove it. All this other stuff, right? We'll start in the United States. A lot of that dealt with religion. And in religion, is it looked highly upon for betting, money, wealth? Is that positive in most religions?
Mm-hmm.
I just think. What do most religions preach about giving with your money and all that stuff, right? Give to the poor. Not exactly great to be wealthy, unless you're the minister and you drive like the fancy car and have the jet. So religion brought about a lot of negative view, one towards sports betting. It was one of, we shouldn't do this. It's not great. It's not very puristic in its nature. And then when we look at the Blackstock scandal in 1919, or Shirtless Joe Jackson, that's one of the biggest things, because then we started looking at game fixing, match fixing, throwing games for bets, right? And what happened there is you had some bookies who wanted to make money. So they essentially said, hey, you guys for this game, we'll pay you on this way, because they knew they were going to make money on the other side. So that was one of the first scandals that really hit the United States, which is why in baseball and everything else, I mean, Pete Rose is on there. What did Pete Rose do?
He bet on games while he was a bench coach of the Reds.
Okay. But did he bet on his team to lose?
No.
Okay. So he bet on his team to win, right?
I don't think he bet on his team in general. I don't remember, but
if he bet on his team, he always bet on his team to win. But he would bet on baseball. And anytime you walk into a clubhouse, a locker room, in the NFL, NBA, all these, if betting's bad, don't do this, yada yada yada. Okay. Let's contrast a little bit of what Pete Rose did. If you work for a company and you buy stock in your own company, is that wrong? Okay. Pete Rose worked for a company. He essentially placed a bet, which placing a bet is like buying a stock. Placed a bet in the company to win. Might be good. So that we have Boston College had issues with basketball and football. There's a full 30 for 30 on that. You can check that out. And then the NBA, Tim Donaghy was a referee. Everybody hates refs to begin with, but Tim Donaghy was kind of point shaving a little bit in games and try to make it closer. Or think about it. Think how much control a referee has over a game, right? Call a foul, shoot free throws, give them opportunities to try and get within the spread, not within the spread. So it's different ways. And what really ignited everything here is the Supreme Court's overturning of PASPA. And it's the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act. It said George Bush signed it into place in 1992, and that it prohibited 46 states from licensing, sponsoring, and authorizing sports betting. So the only state that was grandfathered in was Vegas, and there were some others that could do it, but it was, kind of this one. Sports betting was looked negatively upon. We tried to preserve it. We didn't like it. Yada yada yada. All these things. Supreme Court overruled it, I believe, in the case of intercommerce. So you can't regulate this. You can't say that only this state can benefit instead of others. So once it was passed, and this was led by the great state of New Jersey, Chris Christie was out there, and it's a big push, because what's in New Jersey? Atlantic City, and there's casinos, and there's people. I mean, I don't know how far New York City is, but from Atlantic City, but I don't think it's that far away. There's a lot of people that can go. At the time, to place bets, you had to go actually to a book to do that. And the only place to do it truly is Vegas. And I knew when I lived in Albuquerque in New Mexico, people would fly every Sunday to go to Las Vegas to place bets on NFL games. They'd buy a Southwest Airlines ticket and fly to Vegas. It's an hour and 10-minute flight. Get there, they'd go their first day in the morning, go place their bets, and then they come home the next day. So, or the same day even, they get a flight back out at night. So a lot of people do things, and this is a way to open up the market. So the Supreme Court said that's allowed. And when they did it, Chris Christie said, hey, we will have a sports book open in a couple months. As I said, we're primed and ready to go. His main goal, what he was looking at it, was to drive people back to Atlantic City and to the casinos there, which were struggling and still are struggling today to an extent. So in sports betting overall, you really have, I think odds and math here, you really have 3 different types of odds structures. Your first is fractional odds. Your second is decimal, which are popular over in Europe. And then the American or money line odds. And we'll get into those in a bit. So fractional odds. So these commonly, and I challenge you tonight, sometime if you have Fox Sports 1, tune in and watch America's Day at the Races. Even if you don't care about horse racing, don't know what it is, it's these little jockeys ride around the horses really fast. I just summed it up for you. It's NASCAR, but without the padding. They go, but watch the odds at the bottom of the screen. So you actually see the odds change as it comes in. And you'll just see like the number of the horse, and then you'll see like 3 below it. Well, that means the odds are 3-1. Or you'll see 10, which means the odds are 10-1. Which means for a $1, if you wager $1 and that horse wins, you get $10. And your total payout's $11 because you get your dollar back. So be on the lookout for that. Obviously, the higher number, if it's a 50-1 horse, they're a pretty long shot. Sometimes you'll see it as like 7-2, meaning you got to wager $2 to win 7. That's a pretty solid horse. But it's funny to watch the odds change before a race as they come in. And you can bet up right to the beginning of the race. So as the race, as it's going, you see it and you're like, that horse, I like that horse, but he's listed, I don't know, 3-1. Well, as it's coming, all of a sudden you see that go to 5-1. You just gained potentially $2 of value on your $1 bet. Right? You see how that changed a little bit there? So it's about finding value in picks. That we can pull up this. It should pull up for me. All right. Do you guys see that? The betting calculator? Yeah. So let's say we're betting $5. So when you think about how many points you want to bet for your extra credit, so let's say you want to bet 5 points. You're feeling pretty confident. Single bet, and you're looking at the odds. So then let's go fractional odds. And let's say it's 10-1. So you bet 10-1. So you put $5 down, it's 10-1. You win, you're going to get 50. And your total payout will be 55. How about that? Not bad, right? Not a bad day. So that's fractional odds, and that's a way of calculating. It's pretty straightforward to see. Okay. Now I'm going to pull this aside. Now, decimal odds. These are commonly seen over in Europe. It's a very straightforward way to figure out the odds overall. So if you see odds of, so here's an example. Your original bet might be $100, and you have a 1.82 odds, which means you just multiply these together, which means you get $82 in winnings on a $100 bet. So you won't really see these a lot in the United States. It's not really common, but you do see them a lot overseas. They try and make it simple. So if you're digging around through sports books online and you're looking at an offshore Costa Rican sports book, you might see these odds be presented to you. Okay. Let's get to what you really see a lot in the United States, your money line odds. Okay. And this everything is off the basis of 100 units, or let's just say $100. Okay, so if you see a minus sign, which is usually the favorite, it means you have to lay that amount to get $100. I have an example coming up, we'll go over this. So let's say it's minus 120. So in order to win $100, you have to bet $120. Now it also can change to, I mean, it doesn't, you don't have to put $100 on, you can put $1 and you'll get the fractional percentage of it. If you see the plus sign, usually the underdogs, so right there, the Jets, who are persistent underdogs forever in their whole entire careers. Once you butt fumble, you're always going to be the underdog. But that one, you put $100 down and you get $220, and your total payout would be $320. Okay, so that's one way to look at it. When I say doing your homework, is doing your homework to figure out what's the implied probability that you're trying to compute. Okay, so with sports books, you're always going to, your probabilities are never going to add up to 100%. Someone tell me why.
Because there's no guarantee to win. There's no 100% guarantee to win.
Not quite. What else? Why else would the odds not add up to 100%? They usually add to about 104 to 108%.
Is it so the house can get their cut?
It's the house can get their cut. Remember from the readings, that's called your VIG or your vigorish. That's for the house to take their cut of what they're making. The house always has to make money. Remember, this is a business. These sports books are running businesses, so the house has to always make money. And those are the odds. And then your potential profit, you can figure it out as your odds plus your stake divided by 100. Figure out that. Little things. Best way to do it is let's figure it out here. So here's the odds from, I believe, week 1 of the NFL. Yeah, week 1 of the NFL season. Once it's projected to go. This is according to FanDuel Sportsbook, our trusted sportsbook for this class. In that, the Bears are your first line here. The way to read this, your first line, this is your point spread. So for me to, if I bet on the Lions, and I bet them to go by 2.5, what do the Lions have to win by for me to win?
3.
You gotta win by 3. If not, then the Bears people win, right? If I put money on the Bears at plus 2.5, hey, the Bears can win the game, or as long as the Bears don't lose by more than 2 points, you can do it. Very rarely will you ever see point spread odds in solid numbers because there's no half points in the NFL. So very rarely will you ever see it. If there's ever a point where you tie or don't lose your money, so if it hits on a certain mark, it's called a push. You get all your money back. The second one here is just straight up money line odds. You also see the money line odds presented here. So if I bet the Bears at plus 2.5, the ironic thing about this is that's actually the favorite pick, right? So the early advanced money on that is saying that the Bears, although are not favored to win the game, but more people are putting money on the Bears to cover the spread, to keep it close. And I pulled this back in April. So if we look today, and we will look, that might actually be flipped, right? That might actually be changed. So be it. Middle line is just straight up. I want the Bears to win. Great. So plus 108, meaning I put down 100, I might win $108, right? Or the Lions are actually the favorite here in this component. The other element is typically the over-under. So right now, the Bears are the over at 43.5 points. If you bet the Bears at over 3.5 points, take it. You want the under, take the under. So it's just up to you. But that's just a little way of looking at the odds. But let's pull this back over. So let's look at this. So what were the odds again there with the Bears? Minus 120. So on your $5 bet, you would win $4.17 if you bet the Bears to win or to cover the spread. And here's your payout, which you get, so you get your $5 back. So you're actually making less money than what you put down, but it's a way to kind of sort of hedge your bets a little bit to try and find the most value as possible. Let's go to this other one. Hold on. So on here is the sports book for FanDuel once it finally decides to load. And that looks like it's German basketball. If anyone knows anything about German basketball, you can place some wagers on this. I don't know anything about German basketball. I believe there's actually darts odds. I don't know where darts are played at, but people are betting on darts. I wouldn't be surprised if there's actually cornhole odds. Nope, there's not. Let's see. We got NASCAR tonight. Here's the Blue Emu race. So here's your top picks of who the odds are there. So let's say you put in, you're feeling Denny Hamlin at plus 750, and you want to wager 5 points, right? You can essentially win 37.5 points tonight off 5. Denny Hamlin wins. Not bad, right? What are the odds that actually could occur? 11.7% chance that he could win the race, according to what the money is stating. So let's go back here. Who's our favorite? Looks like Kyle Busch is the favorite. Forget Kyle Busch. Where's golf? Here's PGA Tour golf. Charles Schwab. Rory McIlroy. Looks like he's the favorite. It's probably a good pick to have. I don't know. Ways to try and win some points for you. If you go to football, because most of your action is on football. Right now, Kansas City Chiefs are your favorite to win Super Bowl 55. How do you guys feel about that? No? Let's take a look. The Jacksonville Jaguars are plus 20,000. You bet $100, you can win $20,000. But the Jaguars got to win if you believe in Minshew mania. The Bengals, 15,000. Not bad. Let's look at the season. So which game? We looked at the Bears, right? Odds changed a little bit. You guys see that? The odds, it was plus 108 when I looked at it. Now it's down to plus 100, which is essentially an even money bet. The Bears are still the favorite up here. So more money is still coming on the Bears. The point spread hasn't changed. The odds of it occurring has, right? And what most people will do. Okay, so let's hear from you guys. For those that have participated in any sort of sports betting before, did you just pick your favorite teams?
Sometimes, and then most of the times I look at odds and go off that.
Okay. Okay, so one person. Maddie, did you just pick your favorite teams?
I've never actually bet anything before, but I know when we were at a club tournament one time, Kat was watching college football because she had a lot of money. She had like parlayed a couple games, and one did not work out well, and so she's lost all her money, and so I just didn't do anything.
So Maddie brings up a parlay, and we're going to talk about that next week. But a parlay bet is where, let's say you bet the Cardinals 49ers game here, you bet the Ravens Browns, and you bet the Bears and the Lions. One has to occur. You have to hit all three for that to happen. As a sports book, and this is a question to ask tomorrow, ask him about parlays. Because as a parlay, I just took all your money. Sure, is it more potential payout in the future? Yeah, but are the odds that that's probably going to occur pretty small? Yeah. So it's a way for me to make more money off of that bet. But as you look at all your wagers here, you want to go through and try and figure out the implied probability for games. And you can try and find where some games are, let's say it's the overall probability for a game might be 102%. Well, there's potentially more value there for you than it is for a game that's 108%, right? The book is taking more of a hit. So you can then use the math to try and figure out the odds a little bit more where that's at. Because for you to be successful, RSM, what percentage of games do you have to win to be considered pretty good as a sports bettor? What do you think? Throw out a number.
55%.
Close. It's actually 52.4. So 52.4% of the time, when you look at professionals that do this for a living, they're about 50 to 60% win. So it's really hard. Also, from a sports book perspective, you have to control your margins very closely, right? And what bets come in and what's that, and stuff to ask Tony tomorrow, tracking. They know every person who places a bet because either you place it in person and they know who you are, or online, I can track your profile and see where you're at, right? So if you know what you're doing. So it's not just some mystery. It's not just Mattress Dave, whatever, in Houston placing money, or Vegas Dave out there who has beat the sports book. Great. But with this, there's a lot of different skills that go in, but also just understanding the overall industry and how much of a business this truly is, because a sports book lives off margins that are about 4 to 8%. what's the average margin you think for a retail store that they go by when they sell products? What do you think? Anybody work in retail before? No. Usually about 40 to 50% margin. So sportsbook is making all their money off 4 to 8%. A store is making money off of 50%. That means when you buy something, 50% of what you buy typically goes towards a profit in the store, right? For a sports book, it's 4%. So you have to be really careful on what you're doing and how you place different items. Okay, so yeah, any questions on any of this? Okay. So I encourage you to go reread the material, watch the videos. Tomorrow you're going to be talking to at what time tomorrow? At noon. You're going to be talking to a very knowledgeable professional in the industry. Ask him questions. He said he spoke at a conference. He's like, I spoke at a conference before. It's like 500 people there. They just want to know what gets you thrown out of a sports book. That's what everybody wanted to know. I was like, you guys want to know more? Like, tell me more about this. What's the overview of betting? How's this industry work? What goes into it? You guys are a great guy. He can be a great asset to you moving forward. So, but overall, do you guys like this so far? Okay. So I'll send out more information today about our RSM 482 Sportsbook, and we'll make that happen. All right. That'll be a fun way, I think, get you guys playing and participating. All right. But with that, if there's no other questions.